Hello there.
Good evening, Graham.
Good evening to you too. It's a nice top, by the way. I should have mentioned that in the pre-broadcast section so I could be more effusive with you on my compliments. But I like it. It's got the classic Adidas stripes. It's a little bit modish. It
Modish.
ticks a lot of boxes. Yeah,
Yeah, very good
hello.
value off Vinted, I should add.
Vinted. And
Not
they should be
there
paying you.
are there are other outlets out there where you can. We're in no way affiliated with Vinted on the
No,
pod.
no, no.
So yeah, thanks. No, it's a good top. Yeah,
Yeah,
daddy dads.
excellent stuff. I
And
mean,
I
yeah, they are.
noticed. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to ramble on about stupid
Uh,
stuff, really. So
no, it's
let's
just
not bother.
for our listeners and viewers, the reorientation of your writing cabin. You've
Yeah.
moved 90 degrees, maybe it shifted
I
round.
have, yes, I've moved 90 degrees to the right. Yes, 90 degrees to the right. So if I was previously facing north, I'm now facing east.
There you
No,
go.
I was facing west actually. You get the gist of it.
Yeah,
I'm looking around a bit. So to all of the viewers, welcome to this other aspect of my cabin. Behind there is a window, and you can see just there my heater, which obviously I don't use right now, but in the winter it does come in handy. Um, and yeah, it's this is where I am.
okay. So following the last podcast we did, where we were on the eve of Norway, England, I think it was.
Mm.
So a lot's passed under the bridge since then in various degrees and forms. But we kind of had an idea where we wanted to sort of pick up things, and the idea was around something. Let's just start simply by calling it colour. So as a kind of way in, given the kind of direction of where the podcasts have been going and the sort of reflections, things it's brought up, when you're in the when you're writing, and because I've read recently the writing you've been doing, how much are you thinking about colour when you're writing? Is it something that, yeah, preoccupies you?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question because actually it's a really bad risk. It's a pitfall in my writing that I do think about colour, and when I go over the writing that I've done, I often have unpleasant reactions to my own scribblings because I use colour metaphorically quite a lot, too much, because it is so evocative. And we talked about this right in the off when we were discussing the sea, which is maybe the most pigmented phenomenon in literature. Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to find ways of trying to express things that are challenging to express with resort to color. So I used a lot. I've used a lot of color metaphors in my writing, and then regretted it and struck them out because they often look bad when you read them back. But I suppose the thing maybe that I understand from that is how, yeah, I mean, to some degree, we all think in color. You know, we our language is saturated with references to colors and caricatures that revolve around color, and we use so many idioms across all languages involve colors, white swans, black doves, and so on and so forth. Loads of examples of colorized phenomena. So yeah, I mean, it's really a risk. I think in general terms, people use color all the time to describe their condition, particularly when they struggle to find the literal ways of talking. You know, like I'm feeling sad is it's kind of almost meaningless to say. Um, but you can use color to then describe your mood way more incisively, but kind of
Hmm.
intuitively. So yeah,
Have you?
I think it's a great thing, but it's
Yeah,
really risky. On the page, it becomes pretty awful quite quickly.
I'd like to see examples of that. The bits that you've taken out, just out of
Mm.
interest. So
Yeah.
have you ever done a color test, color blind test?
What's that?
It's to see whether you have any. It's very common, sort of. What's the right way of describing it? Sort of blind spots with certain colors.
All right.
Um, it was something I didn't even think about it. I just did going through art school because it's such a key part of the vocabulary of art. There's loads of online things you can do, and it's actually really interesting because when you say we all think in color, that's one of my sort of launching points because I got very interested in the kind of scientific optics of color versus the kind of sensations of color. And I think the origins of that discussion are sort of Newton and Goethe. There's this kind of quite famous contradiction between the two of them that the scientific model that Newton used to demonstrate the color width, color band, color frequencies of light. Goethe's really interesting, talking about how it eliminates so many of the edges of color, but also it's so specific about a very specific source of light, whereas we experience color totally in a totally different way. Which to kind of that was a kind of jumping off point. So this is years ago, but I'm still aware that yeah, I was looking at something the other day that required you to do a sort of color test. You know, it's like one of those sort of circles with colors in it, and if you are colorblind, you can't see certain images. It's like a simple
Mhm.
test. And obviously, working in art education, it's not really talked about actually. There's sort of these general assumptions around color. But it's not uncommon to be, I mean, colour blindness is a really crude way of putting it, isn't it? But it's like it happens across a whole bandwidth of sort of colour frequencies. Um, so I'd be really interested in these sort of nuanced ideas where you feel descriptions of something using colour. So if we say the colour blue, it doesn't mean anything, does it? It's like what blue, where, how, and there's infinite blues, isn't there? So one of the threads that I've kind of been thinking about is again we keep going back to this sort of idea of language, and for me the language of colour is probably one of my sort of primary languages actually in terms of making art. So I wanted to kind of open that up a little bit about, now you've said it, what is it then in the descriptions that it what just doesn't match the thought, the idea when you're using, it's kind of not nuanced, or it's too oh the grass is green, oh the sky is blue, it's kind of too
No,
literal.
it's not that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's absolutely not that at all. I never do that for obvious reasons. I think the way I used to try and do it, and it's not in the work you've read recently, but it's in some of the more fiction, first person fiction stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why I started doing it is because there are so many aspects. If you really want to write about a person, it's it, and you know you may not do it very well, but at least you have ambition. Then it becomes really cumbersome to talk formally and literally about the way someone is. When none of us experience life through a series of well-formed sentences.
Mm-hmm.
So writing well-formed sentences about somebody who you want to describe with some dedication becomes quite a futile exercise. And one of my resorts for that was to start using color in ways that were bordering on the abstract and certainly metaphorical. To use color in ways to describe someone's universe for it for a certain period of time, not using primary color language, but shades or movements that take forms of color. It's difficult to describe, and I'm certainly not going to read any out because, as I say, I don't feel comfortable with it. But yet, at the time of writing, what it does is it allows me in the moment to feel like I'm connecting to a person I'm trying to invent in a way that I hope would communicate to somebody who is reading this thing, right? In a way that means that they can try and see fictional character as believable and human, uh, which you just can't do. Well, you're limited, or you have to be extremely talented to do with words. So it's. I think the best way I can sum it up is to say that it's an overstretch. It's me trying to find in colours ways of expressing a personality, and the gaps are too great, or at least there isn't a maybe there just isn't a good enough match between language and color in that way. Um,
I
you know,
think
you
that's
talk about
yeah, that's sort of where I was leaning because it's like I was trying to think while you were talking. It's like how can you describe color? I mean, there's that book by Wittgenstein about the color red, which is a sort of philosophical attempt to approach language for something that is a phenomena, which is, and he goes into different ways of thinking about red. But it's really about what you're describing, the struggle with language in words to.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the if we talked about red, or if we talk, I mean, we'll start at least with the Newtonian prism, where science kind of starts its electromagnetism story of color. Red, yellow, orange, green, blue, violet, whatever it is, ultraviolet. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Those primary colors. If you took each of them, you could kind of you. And I think this is really interesting and tells us all sorts of things about the relationship we all have with color. That is subjective in its intensity. Is you can write a kind of biography of red. I would suggest, or any of the other big colors, right, that we use for our categories. And I think some things will readily appear to everyone. I mean, even now, looking at my screen, I can see that the color of every button that one presses when one is recording is red. There's no other color that any technology uses. So it's not that's not accidental. It's giving us red is working for us there. It's giving us meaning. The idea of being recording. You know, the sign on air above when television used to exist analog
Yeah.
in radio waves, it would always be on air, would be a red sign, right? Or the recording button is red, and so on and so forth. So there's something in red that is unique to red, not because it has this frequency of oscillation, but because it socio-culturally has its own character. We've given it a character. It's blood, it's passion, it's recording. I mean, you can add to that, I'm sure, a ton of
Yeah,
other things. And look, here's a nice deep burgundy red that is also actually quite a strong association, right? So yeah, you could do the same with color.
yeah. I mean that's I think where we're headed because the kind of history of the semiotics of color clearly it has evolved as you describe it really, but the history is a material, so the material of color is a really interesting one. And obviously for me looking back in histories about pigments and dyes, there's a different sort of, again, a different social cultural narrative to it, where colours had value based on the value of the pigment. So certain pigments were used for their literally their financial value, like lapis lazuli, blue, gold, certain reds, madder, or they were like primarily earth pigments. So different regions of the world developed a particular sort of, like in Siena, in in Italian Renaissance, the colours were predominated by the earth, and you can kind of see that to do with dyes and pigments as a yeah, it's a phenomenon, isn't it? In different countries, they will, due to organic material, have developed a palette that's to do with the environment that they're actually in. Nowadays, this is my interest. Synthetic pigments are just infinite, and for good reason as well, because a lot of the oxides that were in pigments are lethal. You know, in arsenic green, which is that beautiful colour that was used in Georgian and Victorian housing, it was lethal, quite literally. And a lot of the whites that we used, red oxide, that's relatively safe as a pigment, I think. But yeah, we were kind of given a crash course of that at art school about how to make pigments, and all the do's and don'ts about what you can and can't use was very loose still. But nowadays, because I buy paint pigments, they all come with massive health warnings. If you have to pay money, a lot of money, to get the genuine pigments, but they come with health warnings for good reason.
Mm.
So the history of colour, and you brought up, for example, red, because red operates at a certain light frequency. Of course, it's got to be associated for a good reason. Red being, the classic thing is danger, or it's a red alert, like your signs and signals as you navigate the city centre or something, or on your car, or like you say on the computer. It's derived from I'm sure from its root being danger. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but the reality of that surely is blood.
yeah. I was going to
So,
say it, but it
so
sounded too corny.
yeah, but I imagine that it is right.
Yeah.
The the association of there's no happy moment where you see your own blood, right? Whenever you're seeing your own blood, something's gone wrong. So the association with danger is, I imagine, quite strong. It's a material relation, really. I'm not
Absolutely.
sure all colours possess quite such a tight materiality, but red danger and blood, they must be.
Yeah.
What an incredible discovery to find that there's 5 liters of blood in every body, and
Yeah.
it's actually what gives you life, and it becomes then quite a powerful material connection.
Yeah, because if, for example, the colour blindness exists particularly around reds and blues, so there are cases. I think educationally, we get more and more information coming through now about, when you're doing any presentation that uses text, certain colours, it's mindful to use certain colours rather than just black and white. But red, particularly, something that you should avoid because again, some people just can't differentiate it as a colour.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's that side of it, which the sort of semiotics and symbolism of cultural colour. Uh, if I stop and think about it, it's bonkers, but you just have to understand it, don't you? And understand what.
Why is it bonkers? I think that's kind of it seems to me perfectly understandable. It may be confusing to pick apart, but the semiotics of color. I mean, how else would one perceive color? I mean, without it becoming semiotically
Confused.
endowed. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, confused. But that's because of the hues, right? Or the pigments, the grades that we have. I mean, as you said at the beginning, it may be that we have red, orange, blue, green, whatever. But we also have a huge number of colours with usually beautiful names, but
Mm.
all sorts of shades. And in the age of the Dulux swatch, lim- I mean, kind of limitless colours,
Absolutely.
or with quite amusing names like
They are.
Misty Buff. You know, you might want Misty Buff for your bathroom,
Yeah, moody
and
mist.
angry, you know,
Yeah.
angry russet for your living room. So yeah, I mean, it's a profusion, an endless profusion of colours, all with their own claims to mood or association. That seems to me
Yeah.
almost self-evident, really.
So here's the thing, Graham, that I'm thinking about at the moment is something to do. I doubt this is going to add up as a neat sentence, but it's something like what we experience as color is in fact light, and it's light from an object. That the object itself is probably not the color that you think because it's to do with the light that's on it and the light that's coming from it. So I've been reading about it's a kind of thing around. We have what's called off cells in our retinas. That it's evolutionary. That we actually perceive in the darkness huge amounts of color and information and light, but we've evolved to not need to be able to see in the dark in the way that the argument is we would have done potentially. We had the capability. So, like perceiving, let's say you've got, I'm trying to find something right in front of me. Okay, a nice red Swiss Army knife. So in the dark you can't see it, but actually you can. It's just we've lost the ability to cognitively connect it in some way. So I've been thinking about this idea, and this is to do with the work I've been making, where you detach the colour from the thing it's describing. And that's to do with working predominantly in black and white, and then using colour on in a certain way on top of the black and white. So you have this semi-contradiction between what's there being contradicted by a phenomena, which is the colour, which is a glaze on top of it. And to me, it's that's just opened something up about the way in which, you know, objects, like you said, really obviously, you know, to do with the red apple or the green apple. It's just it just stops us getting somewhere, I think, in terms of our lived notion of sensations and experience. So back to your writing, I can really hear you what you're saying,
Good.
because you're detaching the object from the subject. In if we're talking about color, I could imagine. I'm now trying to think quickly about bits of writing I've read or novels or whatever it is, where you're really moved by descriptions of colour. And I think that's what I was doing before we kind of came on and did this, was just thinking, I wonder how Graham thinks about that. Because to me, it's like it's an obvious primary thing in the work I'm making. And I was trying to think, how on earth can you then find through this symbolism language? And again, that's where poetics and stuff come into it, doesn't it? Because I think what we're experiencing now, and it's to do with HD and UHD LED television, is something completely different. The way in which your mobile phone captures and reconstitutes the world through the language it uses to put colour to things is totally artificial. And I think there's something really interesting there. Like LEDs, like, you know, car headlights, that these super bright LEDs, which is like your television or your MacBook screen or whatever it is on your phone. You are temporarily blinded 18% within immediate perception. You're blinded by 18% because LEDs really mess with your retina. And
Yeah.
so your perception of color has got to shift. So, we were watching the World Cup and we kept going on their iPlayer because they had it on UHD. And we all just, me and Chloe just said, oh, fuck, look at the colour. And it's totally artificial. Of course it is. So there's this sort of shift back to where I started asking you about maybe we just need to think about a type of language with colour um,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shifts from colour symbol into more colour sensation. And sensations, as you know, well, writing are just extraordinarily open and full and amazing and poetic but really frustrating because they're not one-to-one descriptive of something.
No.
And this is back to where we were talking about images. My real frustration with digital image making technology is its artificialness.
I
Richer
don't
than
know.
life,
I mean,
truer than true, colour that's more true than life. It's all these kind
yeah.
of, I can make the highlights redder or green. The phone does it for you.
I agree. Those things are vulgar, and I think this idea of an excess of color is one I can
That's a
be
good phrase.
persuaded by. But I do wonder about, and this is a kind of another one of the things that's kind of part of our deeper conversation, maybe artificiality, right? I'm all in favour of artificiality in general, and kind of like a lot of things to do with science, progress, modernity, urban living, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it fits into that worldview that I have, because when I think about the word artificiality, I think probably pretty much everything can be fitted under that description. So if we go back to the time when everyone in early modern art was using different practices, material practices, very commonly people would use screen prints, which is entirely an artificial way of producing art, right? Usually using those kind of I forget what they're called, paints that are manufactured, and then rubbing a, excuse my absolute ignorance, but rubbing a kind of roller over a cutout piece of textile or whatever it is. I mean, artificiality is, it derives from the word artifice, which simply means to create something. And in fact, that's where the word art comes from too, originally. So it seems to me the whole point is to be artificial if you're going to make art. And the idea of finding a natural or fundamental point of truth with a color seems to me going in the wrong direction. And even when, and I read, and I know you know him better than I do, Caravaggio, I read a biography of Caravaggio, and it described how in the early days when he scraped together patronage to train as an artist, he was spending a lot of time in workshops, making a mess, getting poisoned fingertips, creating the pigments that you were talking about earlier. Everyone in the Renaissance was trying to steal stones from Afghanistan and to crush red beetles and all this kind of thing, right? So it is in, I think, in its originality, art is about mocking up colours artificially.
I agree with
What I
that.
would say, just on the question of um, the smart device and the LED pixel, I mean, those things do create incredible colours. They're all artificial in the sense that they come from computer codes, um, but they are, as you were saying. I want to kind of underline it. There's a kind of violent saturation in those ways color comes at you. It is excessively high definition. It is excessively scaled. It is excessively bright. It feels like a sensory violence. And there are times now, or maybe it's because I'm in my mid to late 50s, where I'm in environments, um, sometimes, uh, let's say on the tube, or in a supermarket, where I, if I do care to stop and think phenomenologically about where I am, I just feel like I'm surrounded by a load of fucking mad shapes and colours, which are purposefully disorienting. And that's, I think, a bit of a problem, and doesn't serve us much, give us much to, much benefit. And I would be quite happy to be quite cynical about all of those kind of things. I think
I think it was
they're
thinking
quite
about,
alienating.
yeah, thinking about how it's shifting knowledge, perception and knowledge. I think that's what I was thinking about, and just being very aware of it, not as a kind of good, bad, right, wrong, but how it's really shifting something. Um, like you're in the supermarket, and which I was yesterday, and there's these, when you get to the head to the section with all the reduced, out of date, or reduced, you get all the things that don't look right. We know all that stuff. The apples have got to look absolutely superb, and whereas you go to the farmer's market and you get the other side, don't you, with the and there is something. Yeah, I like what you were saying about artificial, because your apples are super artificial, aren't they? They're forced into the forms they are, and the colours and whatever, and they're sprayed and blah de blah. But okay, I think it was how knowledge might be, or catching up with the way that knowledge, and implicitly how language is shifting with that. Which brings me back to you again, what you said at the beginning about finding words that actually, you go back and read them and go, oh my God, that's just like too obvious or too literal, or, it's a bit of a cliche. And what that is wrestling with, and I don't think it's about realism or realities or truths or anything, but it's something trying to find the things which get closer to matching this thing we're talking about, which is the sort of sensation experience, and that you make art and it looks back at you and you're trying to measure it, aren't you? Does that catch the thing that I'm trying to explore or express or offer to somebody else? Does it feel right in relation to what I'm thinking? And that's the nightmare of, I'm sure with us similar, you writing and reading it back, me in the studio looking at what I'm looking at, and it's staring at you, and it looks back and it's going, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that red is a bit too red, and so I think I was never taught colour theory. In art school, as I understand it, we were taught two types of colour theory. One was based on Western Renaissance art, which is very different to, it's through the Bauhaus, when they came up with it. The Bauhaus invented a new way of thinking about optics and colour, which is obviously massively influenced design and architecture and everything now that's associated with, to do with living in your house and fashion and design. The way that they saw colours, yeah, I can see the colour wheels, and I can see the ways in which you put colour palettes together to complement each other and do all these different things. But that was so different to the way in which, as I understand it, someone like Caravaggio would have been taught. And somewhere in the middle between the two, you've got that thing called Impressionism, Post-Impressionism. It's a horrible term, where they were somewhere between the two. And it was in music, it was in fashion, it was in, again, design, which the Bauhaus really invented this whole new kind of colour systeming, Joseph Elbers and his wife, which, yeah, I'm somewhere caught between the pillar and the post thinking about at the moment, really.
Yeah. I mean,
As
the
an
thing
as an expressive vehicle, as an expressive language.
yeah,
What you wear, how
I
you
can't,
wear it, all those things.
that's another thing. I mean, I'm always in the I'm always in the mood to um, elevate the better aspects of art, the finest of art, which includes your work, because it doesn't use the color wheel, and it doesn't try to develop a theory of art. There is in color something way more, as I say, things that were modes through which color escapes language. And the one thing that I've noticed about the work you've been doing recently um, is, and you were talking about it just now, because I've seen these paintings, these monochromatic paintings with a color over the top. The color over the top isn't just a color over the top; it's a gloss, right? So what I think is um, really excellent about those paintings is that you are creating a color palette which is black and white, which actually, as you said, has a pretty strong history in itself. And not many people say those aren't colors anymore. Only people who are Newton like. But also, as well as using chromatics or pigments, using, I think, what's called hue. In other words, the translucency of color, right? Because if you put a shellac on a painting and it's a colored shellac, it reflects the color, right? Or even generates, arguably, at least in the eye, generates color. So there are two modes of color being presented in there. One is the shellac or the gloss, and the other is the monochromatic. And they interact. They interact in ways that I'm not going to bother trying to describe because that's not the point. But it is a really striking thing in the art, and it goes. I mean, the idea of describing that in language seems to me immediately absurd. You can make some nice. In fact, I probably will at some point make some nice abstract and stylized reflections on it. But I certainly wouldn't want to say that there's a language or a mode in any of that because it's better than that, right?
No, I mean, I was just literally trying to find. You sent me something, uh, some words about magenta, which is this colour I've been using.
Yeah,
It was invented by printmaking to balance, and it is a mixture of blue and red. So it's filled in on the simple printing scale, which is what printers are based on and your camera's based on. How it merges light, but the color of its light is not the color of its pigment. It's something your brain does. It makes the color.
isn't that the same case with all colors? They all
It's
go
getting
through
complicated
your
now.
through your optical nerve into your cortex, and then it's only then. And this is the
Yeah,
weirdest thing. I
there you
never
go.
get over this that your brain never sees a single photon. Your
Yes,
brain is for its entire existence in the dark, but it
yeah.
happens to have this wonderful privilege of having all of these weird feeds. I don't even know what they are, chemical or electrical feeds, and it creates the entire world of light in darkness, thanklessly. So I don't think there is there is no such thing as a color that isn't constructed in the cortex.
You're right. I agree with that. It's there's something about magenta, which is this optical sensation that you exactly what you said that happens. That's quite unique to its because of its this blending of blue and red together. Um,
Right.
and absolutely what you said, and it's about light. Color is about light. It's the light that comes from an object. Um, and that's what we're doing perceptually, aren't we? Hence, like you say, we're in the dark otherwise, and that's a good place to be, I think. What was it you said to me the other day? It shines in the darkness.
Oh yes, yeah. The biblical quotation "Lux lucet in tenebris." Yeah,
Perfect. I think
I like. Yeah,
that's how I think about color.
yeah.
Um,
Well, one of the I can't remember where it came from now, but there is a kind of an argument that the richest color is black because it is the color that, if we follow the Newtonian understanding, it's the color that absorbs the whole spectrum, right? So it is technically speaking. the one, technically being a lazy word, but it is the one that has everything in it, the one
I
that
thought
doesn't reject
I
anything.
thought that was white.
No, white's the one that reflects the surfaces that you perceive as white are the ones that don't absorb any light. They reflect it all back.
There you go. Yep. No, you're right. And black is the most beautiful color. It is.
It's yeah, it's
Yeah.
certainly the, the I mean it goes right across all the things we've been talking about. If anything, we're kind of recognizing that color is immensely fungible and it can be used in many different ways, and somehow it holds together. But black
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
from
And
Newton's point of view, black isn't even a color because it doesn't come from
agree.
light.
Agree.
But pigment wise, black is the richest color because it absorbs the entire spectrum.
Yes.
And then black is every poet's favorite sad color. Um,
Johnny,
you know,
black. I was on that. It was a piece of work I was making as it was a commission from the coal board. As they were shutting the mines in Nottingham, they commissioned two of us, two artists. We had access to going underground, to going to the big archive in Mansfield that's now completely gone. And I wanted to really understand, because, you know, coal, black coal, okay, I wanted to find more about the colour black. So I went to this pigment shop in London and said, I'm really interested in black pigment, not paint, just the pigment. And they said, yes, which pigment do you want? And I said, well, black. And they said, well, there's 22 different black pigments that we stock. Which one do you want? I said, oh my God. So I took a bit of all of them. And my giddy aunt. Of course, everything you're saying, the nuances of difference. And because generally black comes from an oxide of burning something, but the manufactured pigments now, yeah, it's done with chemicals. So, but the colour difference was just extraordinary. I mean, amazing. And so I made all these panels with different blacks. To the point, one of them was a kind of almost phosphorescent colour that only reacted to certain light or something. Yeah,
I
amazing. But
yeah.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think. Don't think I've seen you wear much black.
No, I don't wear a lot of black.
So, you know, colour's so fashionable, isn't it? And identity politics, here we go again. How do you decide on colours? That was my last question. How do you decide on what colours to wear then? I
Yeah.
can't believe it's
Um,
arbitrary, even though you might say it is.
I think it is quite arbitrary. I had this conversation with my wife and my son. We were talking about color coincidentally before we came up with this week's topic. And you know, what's your favorite color, or what colors would you be
Yeah.
not being dead in? And I said, and they both kind of didn't believe me, that I think all colors are really beautiful. I really love all colors. If you look at any of the colors with your eyes open, Um, they're all fucking brilliant. I love all of the colours. I do have a little bit of black in my increasingly emaciated wardrobe, but um, I don't. I really I like it. Sometimes I'm in TK Maxx. There are no other places to go shopping. I'm not going to endorse anyone else. I go into TK Maxx. One of the things about TK Maxx is it's actually just an absolute explosion. It's a
Yeah.
palette. It's an oil painter's palette of colour. You go in and there's just everything.
It's organised
Um,
in colour ranges as well, isn't it?
is
Often.
it right?
So
I
you
thought
get all,
it was
all the green shirt. Oh, maybe that was some. Yeah, I used to go in there and you go, I want a, I don't know, a blue t-shirt. And then you go to the all the blue t-shirt section. But maybe
right.
it's not like that anymore.
No, I don't think it
Oh,
is. I think
yeah.
it
Right.
knows what I also know, which is there are no ugly colours, and it's just all it's all there. So yeah, I mean, come out with an orange or a pink or a blue or a green or a black item of clothing from TK Maxx, and those shops. And the worst one is Uniqlo, which I've only been in once, and it depressed me. The ones where you go in and there's all of the fucking blue things in a pile or on a rack all together, and then you go somewhere else and there's a red bit. That's terrible. That's not what you do with colour.
So,
It's
so,
borderline fact.
so I know you were very interested, always have been, in Gibson Les Pauls. So,
Yes.
why did you pick a black one and not a red one, or a maroon one, or a natural wood one, or a blue one, or a silver sparkle, or a grey one, or
Yeah, why indeed? I mean, I'd like one of each. None of them are shit. All of them look beautiful. I mean, I always loved the other one. I've always loved is, and you know this, is the Fender Stratocaster Cherry Sunburst, which I think is also, I mean, is just art. Both of them are. I don't know why. I just love that guitar.
yeah.
And so this is the thing with color. I mean, this comes back to what we started with, which is I can't really put into words why. When I looked at that guitar hanging on that rack, I just loved it unconditionally. And although all the other guitars, the cherry red of the SG and the tobacco sunburst of the Telecaster and so on and so on and so on, although they are also all really, really beautiful, something that guitar did something to me. And it's not something I can adequately explain.
I'm with you on
Although,
that because
yeah, I mean,
that's my perception of colour. I'm looking at things around me and I'm just drawn to certain things because somehow the colour and the object look perfect.
yeah,
Um,
agree.
and I'm at the moment drifting for some reason towards kind of violent orange and red.
Yeah.
These are the colours. Got a cracking cup of
Ah,
tea.
that's a good color.
Oh, I wanted to show you this colour just before we leave our. Look at that as an object.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well, I recognize that face
yeah, amazing.
increasingly. Yeah, that is a beautiful color. And it,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Um,
got. Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? I enjoyed that.
Me too. Well, we should thank this episode's sponsors, TK Maxx, for
Yeah,
sponsoring the episode. T and C's apply. There are
TK
other
Maxx.
shops,
I'm
of
sure we had
course.
another in. What was the other one we talked about? Was it just TK Maxx? I thought you said other things are available earlier on, but I can't remember what it was.
Vinted.
Oh yeah, that was it. Vinted, TK Maxx and Vinted, Gibson Les Paul. I'd like if you're listening in,
Yes.
anyone who has this kind of power at the Gibson factory, wherever it is now,
It's
I'll take
yeah,
I'll take any of your guitars and I'll wave them shamelessly in
yeah,
front of anyone's head.
perfect.
Yeah,
On that note, to get the ending guitar
oh,
note.
that's
Um,
powerful stuff.
yeah, I'll see you anon.
We will see each other next week, where we
Indeed.
will discuss something else.
Good. Take care, Graham.
Bye now.
See ya.